multiplying by one. Good, 11. Yes, 11 almost makes multiplication fun. Some people get up at 7:15. Other people lie bed till 8:45 or 9. But I'm happy just to hang in there till 11. Cause 11 has always been a friend of mine. Good, 11. Never gave me any trouble till after 9.
Rosemary's Baby is no myth.
This is no dream. This is really happening.
There are babies being conceived by demonic, satanic intervention today. There are women who go through a ceremony which causes them to come out and be pronounced the bride of Satan.
I've seen Satan.
With a girl, we're going to call her name Rebecca, and she was an ex-Satanist. She is now a Christian, but she shares a chilling testimony of what it was like when she was in this satanic cult right from childhood. So watch now.
I was the fifth bride of Satan, and my power that I ran with was, my element was fire, and you couldn't get any higher than what I was. I could move things without touching them, and I could make people stand away from me and command the demons to go get people and make them get pushed away. I could protect myself in that sort of way, and I really liked the power.
You were taught concerning the things of the dark side of the supernatural at a very young age. Could you share some of that with us?
I was really involved with the satanic church every day. The high priest would come and get me, and they would take me to the church, and they would violate me, but we'd have communion every day, and that consisted of blood and urine and semen and a black widow. And that was, yeah, an everyday part of my life.
How did you feel about that?
I felt really scared, but at the same time I liked the power that I had, that they taught, and I had inside of me, because everybody has gifts inside of them. and you can be influenced by the Holy Spirit or the familiar spirit, and I was totally influenced by the familiar spirit. I had Satanists around me, constantly following me.
You saw many very ugly things, like animals get sacrificed, even humans, and other really terrible things. Did it ever occur to you that this was evil?
No, because I was so brainwashed at the time, because when I was 4 years old, I was raped and molested by a high priest, and I knew nothing else of all that stuff, and I was just brainwashed with the Satanism and knowing that Satan was God and God was not real. Satan was God for me. And I thought, yeah, I was so numb to it, really.
How did you view Christians back then?
I hated them because they had no power. Like, I heard so many times that, you know, God was real and Jesus was so true. But I didn't see the power working throughout the church. In fact, I saw Satanists working also in the church, and Satanists tithe more than Christians do. One time I was sitting in a Benny Hinn conference, and I was being taught. I had two witches on either side of me teaching me how to put curses on Benny Hinn, and I saw a big light around him, and I didn't understand what I was seeing. I was seeing half men from the shoulders up, which were a representation of his angels at the time, because I think, yeah, that God was protecting me at the time, or to see all that stuff would freak me out. And he looked up in the right, I was in the right hand stage of the corner of the stage in the upper part, and he said, "Do you three witches, you two on the either side of me, you're going straight to hell, turn to Jesus, or you're going to burn in hell, and I know what you're doing." And then he pointed to me, and he said, "You're going to get saved soon." And everybody started praying, and I felt like tingling all over my body, and I freaked out and screamed, and they had to escort me out of the stadium. It was weird. It was like I didn't understand why we were doing what we were doing, because he had a pure light around him, and like I said before, I saw colors, and he had a white light, like a bubble encased around him, and I didn't understand why we were putting curses on him, and they were like, it was so brainwashed, really.
What is the primary goal or purpose of Satanism?
Yeah, their purpose is to rule the world.
What was your purpose?
My purpose was to get all the power that I could, and to get as high up as I could.
You have explained to us that there was human sacrifice that went on inside of the Satanic Church and inside of Satanic ritual. Can you tell us how this was done?
How did they murder people? All the children's posters that you see that are missing, they're pretty much dead. They have underground caverns in the mountains, and they keep the children and the kids and the women and men there. And then at a certain time in mid-September, October, they take them out, and they're so... Remember when I told you I could make people get away from me? Like, they'd make the people so numb with curses and stuff, and they'd also drug them up, and they'd take a sacrificial knife and they'd start from the chest and move all the way down to your abdomen. And then that's how they sacrificed, and they collect the blood and they drink it. When the mid-September through mid-November, they sacrifice babies, and nothing but babies, because they need the pure blood of the untainted children. And I was really, I didn't understand what it was like. I just can't believe I'm seeing this every year of my life. I've experienced that, and that was the hardest part for me. It's like hearing those babies literally scream and cry. And then seeing their blood flow. It was horrible.
This is Angela Greenig. She came to my studio in Chicago to tell me about a girl she helped lead out of Satanism. If my eyes were shut before, they certainly weren't anymore.
And so what ended up happening was she came and sat down, and the darkness that was all over this child was like really none I've ever seen before. And I've really done thousands of deliverances through the years, but her eyes were pitch black. I don't remember ever seeing any white in her eyes.
Well, Anton LaVey had a vision that one of the fifth brides of Satan would fall, and meaning falling is sleeping outside of the coven and bearing a child, and this other girl would have to retake her place. And one day he says, okay, this little girl's going to be born in this hospital at this day, at this time, and that was me. And I was supposed to replace that, the fifth bride or whatever, I don't want to really repeat her name and stuff. And I was supposed to train from the time I was born until my 17th birthday to retake her place.
This is, well, we'll call her Esther. I can't tell you her real name, show you her face, or even play her real voice. She lives in constant threat from her past. She was chosen to be something called a bride of Satan.
I've seen Satan, and Satan is, he looked to me in the way he appeared to, the crowd or whatever, and came to us as the brides that were standing there, or the bride-to-be or whatever, as a Spanish prince. And that's what I saw, and says, and in order to be the fifth bride, you're all supposed to sleep with Satan. And he came as a Spanish prince. He was very alluring. Everything about him drew yourself. He had the presence, but it was cold and it was freaky. But at the same time, it was like you're a magnet. It's like you're a duster. He's drawing you to him. He said he was Satan. I could have been wrong at that time because I was so possessed. But for a split second, I could think for myself. It was like this veil was taking off my head. It was like this heavy weight. I could think for myself for I think 3-4 seconds. I could think for myself. I'm going to wind up like those kids. I'm going to also do something wrong within the satanic rituals or whatever, and then they're going to be pissed off, and I'm going to wind up on the altar where they're going to sacrifice me. It's like I got to get out.
So, no, did you know when she showed up who she was, or did you know anything about her?
Nope, they just told me her name was Esther, but I knew she was very high up, satanically. I knew that. To be honest, I did not know she was one of the fifth brides to be.
And I took my last dosage of heroin, and then we were off to my big D-Day, is what I call my deliverance day or whatever.
And she maybe had been blocks away, and the presence of the darkness was so strong that there was literally a quaking in the natural. You could feel it. We knew she was coming. And then within a matter of 2 minutes, this car pulled down the driveway.
And I threw the door open without, of course, I just used the powers.
And she literally flung the front door open, and I looked her right in the eyes and said, "I don't think so, babe."
And Mom catches, she's like, "I don't think so, babe." And then she looked me directly in the eye, and I was like, this woman's talking to me in an authoritative tone. Who is this woman? It's like, you don't just talk to me like that. I wasn't used to being talked down to.
And she started manifesting, and she was on drugs. You could tell. I didn't know if it was heroin or what she was on, but I knew she was on something.
And I look at her, and her eyes are piercing, like massive light. It was like love was piercing into my soul.
But as we started to speak, her head went 3 times, 3 different ways. And she said, "We know who you are. We know who you are. We know who you are."
She looks directly in my face, and I'm just like, at this point, I can't take looking into her eyes anymore, because it was a weird experience. It was like the demons were not, it's like, don't look at her eyes, don't look at her eyes. And I wanted to look, because I wanted to see the light. And it was like they wanted to continue to take my head and control me from that moment, and just didn't want me to see the light anymore, because it was influencing me. And she was like, do you want Jesus or do you want Satan? Which will it be? The choice is yours.
And in this glimpse, like of a second, this little girl jumped through her skin and said, "Help me." And then the demon pulled her back.
And then she did the D-Day, the deliverance. And she asked the angels to hold me down. And it didn't take no 5 hours or 7 days. It took like 20 minutes. And I was totally, completely delivered. And I blacked out from that point. I remember saying the sinner's prayer, and then I felt like 90% of my body was missing. She asked, we prayed that the Holy Spirit would come and fill me. Because once someone's gone through an extreme deliverance like that, they need to be filled with Jesus' love or Holy Spirit or whatever, You have to fill the void, because, if you don't, and then it goes really bad really fast.
The first year, honestly, was just absolutely insane. No one would believe the stories of, us going into stores, and, we had people following us, and they're trying to abduct her out of the stores, and it was just crazy. And I lost a lot of friends in ministry because they just thought it was like sci-fi or something. They didn't believe her, but I knew that what she had gone through was real.
I'll spare you the details of rape, drugs, and murder Esther went through while in Satanism, because it's simply too graphic. Esther isn't looking for a book deal or more speaking engagements. There's no gain for her in talking about this. So I listened to her.
You have to also face reality. We're born in a war, man. It's from day one. There's a fight for light and for darkness. You're born inside of a war, but we have to be aware that the darkness is trying to influence, and we have to be prepared to stand up and fight and work together with each other. The church has to wake up. There's always enough. That's Jesus. He's beautiful. Love is for everybody. Love conquers all, eh? Mm-hmm. Look at me. I'm a walking miracle.
Many of you have heard me talk about this book. How many of you have heard me talk about this book? He came to set the captives free. It can be scary to some if you're not prepared for it. But for me, I saw a lot of my journey in that. A lot of the warfare that I've experienced in that book. Dr. Rebecca Brown, which is actually a name, she changed her name for various reasons. You'll read that in the book. But she presents a story of her journey with a woman named Elaine. Elaine happened to have been a former bride of Satan. Initiated fully a bride of Satan. She converted to Christianity, and Dr. Brown took her into her home after treating her at the hospital. Took her into her home for well over a year, showed her love, and the Lord taught Dr. Brown how to help her get rid of the demons. And there were many, many demons. But Elaine speaks in the book. And she tells us her story. She tells us the other side of the coin. She said, hey, this is the plan. And it's been the plan ever since the inception. Really, since Satan fell like lightning, this is his plan. It's the plan, whether it's against the church, whether it's against your house, your family, your children. This is the plan. So as I go through these things step by step, I want you to see this not just here in this setting, but see it in your home, right? See it in what we're seeing out here today with our children. The attacks, the breeding ground of Satanism. It's all in our faces now. No holds barred. Who do you think God is preparing to come against this evil generation? What do you think the bride of Satan looks like? Maybe like this? I don't think so. From what I learned here, she looks nothing like that. Maybe she looks like this. Because you'll never recognize them in your midst. I'm going to quote directly from the book in the majority of this message because I want you to hear it raw and real. Not my synthesization, but from her mouth. She said, and I quote, "During my years in the brotherhood," we'll talk more about that in a minute, "I was carefully trained, and I in turn trained others how to infiltrate and destroy various Christian churches. Satan's goal was to make every church like the church of Laodicea. We all know the 7 churches of Revelation. Laodicea is that lukewarm church, the one that's neither hot or cold. You know, Jesus said, I'd rather you be one or the other, but not in between, because if you are in between, I will spew you out of my mouth. Laodicea. Many of you know that Laodicea is that lukewarm, that seeker-friendly, let's go hear a great 3-point cheerleading session and head home because the pot roast is on. We have to go out to dinner. Can you hurry this up? I remember meetings that took 3 and 4 hours when I was a kid, praying in the Spirit. I got so few of those because Christians are very impatient. They start wiggling, gotta go, the kids, the this, the that. Lukewarm Christianity. I don't want to give you something that's going to scratch your itch. I don't want to give you something that is going to make you feel good. I want you to be challenged. Challenged. She said that each individual was given an 8-point plan of attack that could be adapted to whatever denomination of church they were sent to. 8 points. Whatever denomination just fits right in. They're very well trained with precision and accuracy. They know the Bible. They understand Christians, and they know Christians don't know their Bible. She said the fact that most high-ranking Satanists regularly attend Christian churches should not be a surprise to anyone. That is, anyone who takes the time to actually pay attention. Christians are clearly warned that Satan's attack will come from within the church. We think that it's like outside. And yes, we see the attack on our families and we see the attack on our children. But we walk in and we're like, I mean, this morning, I love watching you guys fellowship and love on each other. There's nothing that makes my heart sing more than to see the unity in this body. When you're here as one, nothing can touch that. What you, Pneuma, need to thoroughly understand when you leave here today is that this is Satan's plan. Not God's plan. Satan's plan. Elaine says he will use anyone anyway, regardless of them being a professed witch, a practicing Satanist, or involved in the occult. He will use anyone that opens the door for him to use them. I see this, and I know I've told you so many times, I see it in deliverance now on a daily basis. Christians have been indoctrinated one way or the other. You know, Doug and I were just talking the other day. Our heart breaks for the church. It really does. Because we hear what you're not hearing, right? And what's going on really behind the scenes in the lives of Christians. You may have it pretty good, but the majority of people that we talk to, they don't. And they're in church. They're in church. I want to share with you what the brotherhood is. Okay? We're going to talk about the brotherhood. Elaine says, and I quote, Satanists, now they do not have to be a part of this group, all right? But this is predominantly what you're going to find in the covens and the surrounding areas, and there are many here. The group, which secretly calls itself the Brotherhood, is made up of people who are directly controlled by and worship Satan. It is a rapidly growing and dangerous cult. Now, keep in mind, this was like in 1984. The two major centers are on the West Coast, California, Midwest. That's not the case now. It's everywhere. They are divided into local groups and chapters called covens. The covens range from 5 to 10 to several thousand. The cult is extremely secretive. You will never know who they are. No written records of membership. The contracts that they sign with Satan are burned. Even the high priest and priestesses do not share membership information. The Satanists infest every level of society, the poor and the rich, the very well educated, businesswomen, businessmen, government officials, Christian ministers. I couldn't believe some of the things that she shared here. Most of them attend the local Christian churches and are considered good Christians because of their involvement. This is all done as a cover-up. They lead double lives and they are experts at it. They are masters of deception. They all go by code names. They know each other on the street, but they have different names in the church. They are rigidly disciplined by Satan and his demons, and they practice human sacrifice several times a year, animal sacrifice on a monthly basis. You've heard a lot about this lately, I hope. The sacrifices are mostly babies. You know that is done in many ways. They're born out of wedlock to cult members, cared for by doctors and nurses within the hospital. She said that the majority of hospitals have high-ranking Satanists in high positions. The baby's birth is never registered, neither is its death. They kidnap victims. They will punish the children of those that even try to step outside of the lines. Each coven is led by a high priest and a priestess. There are several occult groups in the U.S. who call themselves the Illuminati. This is not the Brotherhood, but they are the same. They worship Lucifer. They are made up of ancient druids, Scots, English. A lot of bloodshed back there. The Sisters of Light, she's mentioning one of the covens. They came to the U.S. in the early 1700s, and they date back to the Dark Ages in Europe, but indeed have their roots back to the sorcerers of ancient Egypt and Babylon, who were powerful enough to able to actually reproduce 3 of the 10 plagues sent upon Egypt during Moses' time. These witches are very powerful. They are able to produce disease and kill without physically touching their victims, even over a distance of 1,000 miles. This is all accomplished by demons, of course, that are sent by these individuals. And these people are deluded into thinking that they can control the demons, and the power is what they feed off of. I want to just give you a little sidebar here. One thing in church that you have to be aware of, those who are seeking impartation of power alone. A lot of people come to me, I want more of God, I want more of God, and that's great. But relationship comes first. That's number one. And when you're power hungry, you're going to wind up with just that. The incredible atrocities committed by these cults are so controlled. The rapid growth of the brotherhood is the mark of the end times. We are in a direct fulfillment of prophecy. In the United States and around the world, there are countless thousands of cults and groups that worship and serve Satan under many different names. Many do not call Satan by his name, but another name. They often use the name Jehovah. In one of the deliverance sessions I did the other week, the young lady was hearing what you would think would have been a word from the Lord over and over and over, but it was a trickster instead.
Today's video, we're going to discuss Lilith, the Queen of Hell, Mother of Demons, Angel of Prostitution, Killer of Pregnant Women and Infants, Adam's first wife, and Seducer of Men. We're going to start off by looking at a couple of allusions to her in the Old Testament. Following that, we're going to look at early influences that originated in Mesopotamia. And finally, we're going to look at the tide of information presented in various works published throughout the Middle Ages. Let's get into it. Lilith barely features in Scripture. She's absent from the Quran and doesn't appear in the New Testament. It's only in the Old Testament that she's included, and even then, her inclusion depends either on the translation or on the interpretation. In the book of Genesis, which is the first book of the Old Testament that describes the cosmogony, the creation of the universe, and the anthropogony, the origination of humanity, the creation of women is described twice, each with different wording, which has led to some interesting theories and stories that endeavor to reconcile the two. The first instance reads as follows. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. One interpretation of this passage is that God created the first man and the first woman simultaneously, which, by this reckoning, places it at odds with the second instance in which the creation of the first woman is described. Here's the passage that describes the second instance. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof, and the rib, which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. To reconcile the two accounts, one version, such as the one given in the alphabet of Ben Sira, which we'll expand on later, explains that the woman created at the same time as Adam in the first passage is a different person than Eve, the woman created from Adam's rib in the second passage. Moreover, this version holds that the woman created in the first passage is actually Lilith, making her Adam's first wife. Again, we'll cover this part of Lilith's story in greater detail later in the video. The other mention of Lilith in the Old Testament is given in the book of Isaiah, though her inclusion by name depends on the language and the translation. In the JPS parallel Hebrew and English version of the Tanakh, Isaiah 34:14 reads as follows, "And the wildcats shall meet with the jackals, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow, Yea, the night monster shall repose there, and shall find her place of rest." Night monster is indistinct and ambiguous, but many of the other translations, either of the Tanakh or of the Old Testament, have seen various monsters and animals substituted in, including Lilith, night spectre, night creature, night hag, Lamia, a female monster of Greek origin that preys on children, night bird, and screech owl. This last is especially interesting because it parallels a detail of the Queen of the Night plaque, which is nearly 4,000 years old, made in ancient Babylon sometime between 1800 to 1750 BCE. It depicts a winged woman with talons for feet, standing on two lions flanked by a perched owl on either side. Who this figure is isn't known for certain, but the list of possibilities has been whittled down to just a few candidates. Ishtar, goddess of war and sexual love, Ereshkigal, ruler of the underworld, or the demon Lilitu, who became later known as Lilith. And this takes us into the part of the video that looks at Lilith's origins. Lilith, a female demon infamous for preying on infants and pregnant women, and for copulating with sleeping men, thereby birthing a plethora of demons into the world, is a central figure in Jewish demonology. You could say that Lilith, as conceptualized in Jewish lore, is but one expression of an archetype, that of the demon who targets infants and pregnant women, that seems to rear its head across cultures and millennia, particularly in the Near East. If this is tracked backwards through time, it looks as though Lilith's origins can be connected back to ancient Mesopotamia. She briefly features in the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Sumerian work, and she's identified with Lilu and Lilitu, respectively male and female spirits of ancient Babylon, both of them notorious for attacking infants and women in labor. Another figure who shares this MO is Lamashtu, either a goddess or demon who endangered women during childbirth and even abducted infants as they suckled at their mother's breast. In appearance, she was a hideous amalgamation of many animals, having the head of a lion, the talons of a bird of prey, the teeth of a donkey, a body covered in hair, blood-stained hands, and long fingers with long nails. Another variety of demon germane to Lilith is the Ardart Lily, which rendered men impotent as a sort of revenge for itself not being able to copulate. Sometimes women were also targeted and rendered infertile. In appearance, it looks like a wolf with a scorpion's tail. Much of the best-known information surrounding Lilith comes from the alphabet of Ben Sira, a work thought to have been written sometime in the Geonic period, which lasted from the late 6th to the mid-11th centuries CE. The third part describes Ben Sira recounting 22 stories to Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. One of these gives an alternative anthropogony. Rather than Eve being created from one of Adam's ribs, it describes Lilith not only as the first woman, but also as being created from the earth, just as Adam was. Unfortunately, their relationship is characterized by acrimony and incessant fighting, and ultimately, Lilith refuses to submit to Adam, so she invokes God's name and flies away. 3 angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Semangaloth, are sent after her, and they eventually catch up with her, but she negotiates her way out of the encounter, promising to be repelled by any amulets bearing their likeness, which is why thereafter such amulets were used to ward her off, safeguarding those she preyed on, pregnant women and infants. Furthermore, she also exceeds to 100 of her children perishing each day. Here's a quote that describes this. He also created a woman from the earth as he had created Adam himself, and called her Lilith. Adam and Lilith immediately began to fight. She said, I will not lie below. And he said, I will not lie beneath you, but only on top, for you are fit only to be in the bottom position, while I am to be the superior one. Lilith responded, We are equal to each other, inasmuch as we were both created from the earth. But they would not listen to one another. When Lilith saw this, she pronounced the ineffable name and flew away into the air. The angels left God and pursued Lilith, whom they overtook in the midst of the sea. They told her God's word, but she did not wish to return. The angel said, We shall drown you in the sea. Leave me, she said. I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days after his birth, and if female, for 20 days. When the angels heard Lilith's words, they insisted she go back, but she swore to them by the name of the living and eternal God, Whenever I see you, or your names, or your forms in an amulet, I will have no power over that infant. In one account, after the fall of man, which resulted in the expulsion of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, the first man and the first woman became separated for 130 years. During that time, Lilith returned to Adam and copulated with him in his sleep. Supposedly, the son that resulted from their coupling turned into a frog. Another account, the one given by Rabbi Eliezer in the Book of Adam and Eve, claims that at one time Lilith was bearing Adam 100 children per day. The Zohar depicts Lilith as a hot, fiery female who at first cohabited with man, who flew to the cities of the seacoast when Eve was created. The Kabbalah portrays her as the demon of Friday, who appears as a naked woman with a snake's tail for legs. Another description maintains the nude upper body, but gives her a column of fire for legs. And in Talmudic lore, Lilith is presented as an immortal demon who will continue to plague mankind until God eradicates evil from the face of the earth. Eventually, a profusion of early traditions coalesced, and from them emerged two predominant activities associated with Lilith: the strangling of newly born children and the seduction of men. Regarding the latter, it was thought that any time a man woke up with wet undergarments, made so by the nightly discharge of seed, it was indicative of Lilith having paid them a visit and seducing them in their sleep. And in this she was thought so prolific that a virtually infinite number of demonic spawn were attributed to her, said to be her brood, legions upon legions sired by unwitting men as they slept. Apparently, people were so wary of her erotic powers that in some Jewish communities it was commonplace for sons not to accompany their fathers as their bodies were laid to rest in graveyards, sparing them the shame of bearing witness to all their demonic half-blood siblings, those conceived when Lilith seduced the father. Because of this, in the Zohar, as well as other sources, Lilith is known by many colorful appellations that denigrate for lasciviousness and wantonness. These include the black, the wicked, the false, and the harlot. In Zoharaistic Kabbalah, Lilith, along with Isheth Zenunim, Naamah, and Agrat Bat Malat, 3 angels of prostitution, was one of the consorts of Samael, a figure with many identities, not all of them evil, depending on the version. Among them were the great serpent with 12 wings, a prince of hell, and another name for Satan, especially in Jewish lore. As conceptualized in Kabbalism, Lilith was given preeminence, becoming the principal and permanent partner of Samael, basically, in effect, crowned Queen of Hell.
know that Sony, I think it was back in the UK, had jacked the prices up of Whitney's album.
It reminds me
within an hour or so of her dying.
Yeah, that reminds me of the time I had a manager once who said to me, you know, you're worth more money dead than alive.
Of songs about women, like anthems, I'm Every Woman. Like, what was it like when you right? I always wonder, when it's a timeless song being created, do you know that you're creating something timeless? And so what was it like when you recorded that?
I knew I was creating something, because when I would go, it took me a long, long time to feel some kind of comfort singing something like, I'm every woman. See, I was taking it literally, which was wrong. I was reading it in a from an insecure place. And I said, this song's not saying that you are every woman. Hello. You know, it's cuckoo. The song is saying, together, collectively, I'm every woman, and it's all in me.
Wow.
So, it took me a while to get comfortable singing that. And I got it. Once I got it, and I said, okay, I understand it now.
What's your understanding of it? What's your definition of it? I mean, who better to
Well,
get
that
it
it is
from
many
you?
women. It's a song that is, it's really talking about in a plural way, in a collective way. You know, we are all every woman, and it's all in us. I think that we all, as artists, because we're highly sensitive people, and this machine around us, this so-called music industry, is such a demonic thing.
Is this 1927 movie telling us about strange things that the Illuminated had planned for humanity? I believe that Metropolis is a reimagined modern-day Babylon, a city-state that birthed a world system. Men of science, industry, finance, and every major area of control were all secretly dedicated to the same great work, also called their magnum opus. Their so-called great work is restoring that once great city-state to its pre-flood glory, and successfully producing replicated and recreated versions of our old selves. They plan for us to become new creatures in Antichrist, mere vessels to be driven at the whim of these spirits. "1927's Metropolis dares to form a cinematic metaphor of hermetic ideas, joining man and machine, past and future, where souls and minds can be transferred from vessel to vessel via a somewhat swift and simple Satan spirit-inspired techno-metaphysical ritual procedure.
Illuminati, all through your body. Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary. Just like a movie star.
Maria is the same as Mary, who is the Queen Mother Goddess figure known by the title the Queen of Heaven in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 44, verse 19. Bridget, or Bridget, also known as Brig, is a goddess of pre-Christian Ireland. Cormac's Glossary, written in the 9th century by Christian monks, says that Bridget had two sisters, Bridget the Healer and Bridget the Smith. This suggests she may have been a triple deity. She is also thought to have some relation to the British Celtic goddess Brigantia. St. Bridget shares many of the goddess's attributes, and her feast day, February 1st, was originally a pagan festival called Imbolc. It has thus been argued that the saint is a Christianization of the goddess Brig or Bridget, or that the lore of the Celtic goddess Bridget was actually later transferred to this supposed Roman Catholic saint. Bridget is still an important figure for some modern pagans, who emphasize her triple aspect. She is sometimes worshipped in conjunction with Lugh or Cernunnos. So although we may not be in total agreement with any one researcher on every subject, we can certainly use the analysis of experienced investigators like Professor Walter Veith to affirm for us that these many names and identities are in fact the same small group of entities. So the Celtic goddess Bridget shows up as the pagan Roman Catholics Saint Bridget, and ultimately Mary, who they call by the underhandedly blasphemous title of Mary, Mother of God, which is an example of classic Orwellian doublespeak. Their names change from peninsula to plain, but who were these beings, originally anyway? The assumption is that the angels who kept not their first estate and left their heavenly plane of existence were male. Adam was to be as a representation of the Most High God, who needed none to procreate, unlike the animals that the Most High created. Modern feminism misunderstands this truly divine veneration, pun intended, of the woman. The proverbial Eve was a uniquely unprecedented being, hardwired and designed to be the helpmeet and companion of man. The Most High gave man the only thing that God himself did not have, an equal opposite reflection of himself. The misinformed feminazi and social justice liberal sees the biblical exaltation and consecration of the woman as suppressive, archaic, patriarchal, and discriminatory. So let's suppose that there is no being like the woman. However, men are made in the image and likeness of our Creator. The Nephilim of Genesis are made to be male, as are angels in general. The enemy hates all of the gifts God gave to Adam, but none does the enemy revile more than the childbearers of the human race, the eventual vessel of his destruction, the womb man. Which brings us to question the manifestation and infestation of Queen Mother Goddess figures all throughout antiquity, beginning especially in Eastern esotericism. If we build on the idea that once heavenly angels became shape-shifting entities who had mastered disguise and enchantment, then it's not much of a stretch to assume that they would have had no problems disguising themselves in drag. They were older, wiser, stronger, vastly intelligent, and had a much greater overstanding of spiritual ideas. Now take into account the homosexual requirements of many spiritual rituals and practices within the rites of secret societies, such as those reportedly practiced in the Skull and Bones, high-level Freemasonry, as well as in fraternities and sororities around the world. Now take into consideration the androgyny of the Hollywood-affirmed, California-created Satanic Church and its popularity among free love enthusiasts and hippies during the time of its creation. Next, look at the Alphabet Crew and Mighty Pink Hand as part of a femophobic plot to replace women, not only to make men effeminate, but to bind up the process of procreation. If we add to all of that the popularity of Satanists and Satan sympathizers still sampling Jewish occultist Eliphas Levi's Baphomet drawing, and it's some 200 years later, one can rationally conclude that the angels who did not force themselves on human women masqueraded as women, seducing the men via the vessel of a priestess/whore. So while the Jude one, 6 convicts could communicate and call shots from the joint, it seems that their fellow Mount Hermon conspirators masqueraded as the ancestor gods and ancestor goddesses of indigenous peoples.
Then Satan comes and there is an illicit sexual act, and they actually conceive a monstrous creature in their womb. You say, where in the world did you get that? I talked with Bob Larson in Denver, Colorado about 4 or 5 years ago. I stopped there in a meeting and had lunch with him, and we were talking, and he asked me, he said, Wynn, what do you know about the bride of Satan? I saw it in your book. Bob does deliverance. He's a good man. Pray for him. He said, I said, well, I don't know much more about it except we ran into that spirit in a woman. He said, well, I was hoping you knew a little more about it. And he proceeded to tell me they were dealing with a woman then and had run across others who had produced a monstrous offspring that had been offered as a satanic sacrifice, a human sacrifice. I'm telling you people, there are weird, frightening things going on today. As it was in the days of Noah, they were doing things contrary to all the laws of God. They were transgressing supernatural laws by the power of Satan. It's being done today. Now, it hasn't become on a wholesale scale, but it's getting there. And you better believe what God is saying in these days.
This programming affects the infamous as well as the famous, and obviously not all Bride of Satan candidates are celebrities. Of course, every female entertainer is not selected for this programming. A potential candidate must be highly susceptible to hypnotic suggestion, strong-willed and influential, open to the handler's advising, and most of all, ambitious. If the Illuminati god is a devil, then this process of possession via spiritual technology promises to make the initiate as an ancient goddess, making one even with hence the twins, you and your shadow or familiar spirit, together, forming a false deity. The sign of Gemini, astrologically Horus/dual-natured offspring of sun god and moon goddess. L-11. The Luciferian promise and lie that their tech religion will make you even with Il or L-even by binding a spirit to you. Russ Dizdar, a pastor, radio talk show host, and author, has conducted extensive research into the world of the occult, secret societies, and ritual abuse. He has worked with survivors of alleged satanic ritual abuse, SRA, and mind control, and has spoken about the concept of spiritual brides to Satan. Dizdar has been quoted as saying, "The dark side is driven by the powers of darkness, and they're seeking to create chosen ones, elite individuals who will serve the agenda of the Antichrist." In his research, he has come across individuals who claim to have been spiritual brides to Satan or candidates for such a role within their respective groups. These individuals have shared stories of indoctrination, initiation, and psychological manipulation as part of their experiences. One such testimony comes from a woman who claimed to have been a candidate for becoming a spiritual bride to Satan. She recounted her harrowing experiences within the group, including being subjected to rituals, abuse, and mind control techniques. She said, "I was groomed to become a spiritual bride, but I managed to escape before the final initiation. It's a life of constant fear, and you're always under the control of someone else." Another testimony from a survivor of alleged SRA and mind control mentioned her experience as a spiritual bride to Satan. She described the process as one involving intense programming and conditioning, which broke her resistance and created a strong bond with Satan or other powerful figures within the group. These testimonies provide insights into the secretive world of groups that engage in these practices and the lengths they may go to maintain power and control over their members. Russ Dizdar's research and outreach have helped shed light on the concept of spiritual brides to Satan and the inner workings of secret societies and cults that engage in these practices. His work offers a valuable perspective on the beliefs, motivations, and activities of these groups and their potential impact on the lives of those who become involved with them. Arizona Wilder, whose real name is Jennifer Ann Nagel, is a woman who claimed to have been a victim of mind control and ritual abuse, asserting that she was used by powerful elites in satanic rituals. Wilder gained attention in the late 1990s when she appeared in a series of interviews conducted by conspiracy theorist David Icke. In these interviews, she shared her experiences and connections with secret societies, occult practices, and the concept of spiritual brides to Satan. According to Wilder, she was subjected to trauma-based mind control techniques from a young age, which led to the development of multiple personalities. She claimed that one of these personalities was a spiritual bride to Satan, specifically created to participate in rituals and ceremonies involving powerful figures in politics, finance, and entertainment. Wilder's accounts of her experiences as a spiritual bride to Satan include vivid descriptions of rituals, sacrifices, and other ceremonies that she claims to have witnessed or participated in. She also mentioned encounters with high-ranking members of secret societies and elite bloodlines who allegedly played a significant role in the organization and execution of these events. Arizona Wilder's story provides a unique perspective on the concept of spiritual brides to Satan and the secretive world of the groups that engage in these practices. Her accounts of mind control, ritual abuse, and the inner workings of these secret societies contribute to the broader understanding of the beliefs, motivations, and activities of these groups, and their potential impact on the lives of those who become involved with them. Wilder has provided numerous detailed accounts of her experiences as a supposed victim of mind control and ritual abuse, with some quotes highlighting her connection to the concept of spiritual brides to Satan. Here are a few quotes from her interviews and statements. 1. On her role as a spiritual bride to Satan, Wilder said, "I was brought up to be a breeder, to bear children that would be used in these rituals. I was also programmed to be a spiritual bride of the deity they worshipped." 2. Describing her experiences in rituals, she stated, "I witnessed many horrifying things at these rituals, including human sacrifice, and I was made to take part in some of them. They used my dissociative identity disorder to control me and make me do what they wanted." 3. Regarding the powerful figures she encountered, Wilder claimed, "I have seen many prominent people at these rituals, people from politics, business, and entertainment. They all seemed to be part of this hidden network that controlled everything behind the scenes." 4. Speaking about the process of recovering from her experiences, she said, "Breaking free from the programming and the control was not easy. It took years of therapy and a lot of hard work, but I am finally able to speak out and share my story with others." 5. On the importance of exposing these practices, Wilder emphasized, "It's crucial for people to know about these secret societies and the things they do in the shadows. By speaking out, I hope to help others who have gone through similar experiences and raise awareness of the dangers posed by these groups." Arizona Wilder's quotes provide a glimpse into her experiences as a spiritual bride to Satan, as well as the alleged activities of secret societies and elite bloodlines involved in occult practices and rituals. Her accounts contribute to the broader understanding of these groups' beliefs, motivations, and potential impact on the lives of those who become involved with them.
Every continent will soon be under our complete domination. You must be pleased with that.
Well, let's just say that it pleases me to serve our leader, with whatever minor talents I possess.
John told me that our leader's very pleased with your conversion process.
Yes, but you know how impatient our leader can be.
Even with you?
I thought that, given the intimacy of your relationship with him, he might...
Be very careful, Stephen.
I just hate to see him make you so distressed.
Doesn't understand that my conversion process is still limited. Doesn't work the same on every human subject.
No, but when it does work, as with Duvivier, Jankowski, and the others, it's remarkable.
Yes, it is.
They actually believe that a conspiracy exists, or even that they're part of it.
And, of course, the evidence that we planted reinforces their beliefs.
The operation is working perfectly. Scientists are being ostracized, disorganized throughout the world.
The problem is, our leader then says, why not convert them all? He doesn't understand that the human will is much, much tougher than we bargained for. To convert them all would take forever. However, we will continue to refine the process.
Yes, I'm sure you will, successfully.
We must find the most effective and efficient methods to be used against them.
Well, I don't think our leader could have possibly chosen anyone who could do a better job than you.
Well, the longer we can keep the public's confidence, the easier our task.
Many skeptics question why no truther actually gets in trouble with the powers that be. However, those who hold that rather shallow view should consider the case of Fritz Springmeier, an author and researcher known for his work on secret societies, the Illuminati, and their influence on global events. Springmeier's life took an unexpected turn when he faced accusations, arrest, and subsequent incarceration. This chain of events appeared to be an attempt to silence and discredit him due to the sensitive information he was uncovering and disseminating. In a 2003 article from the Oregonian, it was reported that Springmeier was convicted on conspiracy and bank robbery charges, which he and his supporters claim were fabricated to silence him. Upon his release from prison, Springmeier's connection to Alex Jones has raised eyebrows, giving off Tupac signing with Suge upon his prison release type of vibes. In an interview with Jones, Springmeier stated, "The truth is a powerful weapon, and those who seek to control and manipulate others will always try to suppress it." In the already questionable world of alternative media news, corporate mainstream news, and flat-out conspiracy theorists, Jones is presently considered to be of the latter ilk, disliked and doubted even within a circle where some may say the ridiculous is sometimes entertained. Despite this dubious connection, Fritz Springmeier's books, How to Create an Undetectable Mind-Controlled Slave and Bloodlines of the Illuminati, are considered to be accurate and informational by the most respected researchers in his field. Researcher and author Jim Marrs mentioned in an article, Fritz Springmeier's work provides valuable insights into the inner workings of secret societies and their control systems, and his books are crucial for anyone looking to delve deeper into the subject. The efforts to stop Springmeier's work and discredit him highlight the significance of the topics he has researched and written about. His experiences reveal the potential dangers faced by those who delve into the hidden world of secret societies and expose the inner workings of these powerful groups. Springmeier's persistence in sharing this information, despite the challenges he has faced, emphasizes the importance of understanding and uncovering the truth about these organizations and their influence on society. Quote, "Satan is not really someone you can get to know on a personal level," closed quote, by Jesse Chebotar. This is an excerpt from Illuminati Primer by Veronica Swift, Chapter 11, Brides of Satan. Quote, "The brides of Satan are available to Satan to make sure that he is happy, and that whatever he desires, he gets. They're required to look beautiful, and always be ready to appear if they're called on for events, or to accompany Satan. In compensation, they are provided with plenty of money and expensive homes. They sexually cater to Satan and oversee those called his offspring. Most don't realize what a nightmare of an abusive relationship it is going to be prior to accepting the position in the system, and after they are initiated, they say that it is like being haunted by your worst nightmare day and night. Most are not allowed to marry someone human in addition to being bound to Satan, and their time in the system is generally short, as he brings in new batches every 5 to 10 years. When the new group is initiated, the previous group is generally killed. New groups are initiated at Bride of Satan ceremonies, which generally happen in March. It is one of the few rituals where everybody wears white robes. Elaine was a Bride of Satan in the Northern Quadrant, which was in the jurisdiction of Jesse's proctor, the Queen Mother of Darkness. Elaine's life story, initiation into the Brotherhood and finally her escape from it, is described in Rebecca Brown's book, He Came to Set the Captives Free. At the pinnacle of her career in the Brotherhood, Elaine was described as one of the top witches in the United States. The Brotherhood seemed to be after Elaine right from her birth. In an innocent and ignorant act, Elaine's mother gave the Brotherhood rights to Elaine as an infant. Elaine started out being recruited into the Sisters of Light, and then was told about the opportunity to become a regional Bride of Satan. There are only 5 to 10 regional Brides of Satan in the U.S. at any one time. It is a position of great honor and power. The Sisters of Light told me they were sure I had the ability to attain this high position. They constantly talked about all the benefits I would gain if I reached it. I became determined to gain that position. Despite attaining great heights in the hierarchy, Elaine eventually wanted out of the system, and with Rebecca's help worked for years to free herself from its clutches. Their story of how that happened is worth reading. It explains in detail what it feels like to be possessed by a demon, attacked by a demon, trapped in the system, and the lengths to which the system will try to prevent someone from leaving. It was years of battle, prayer, dodging poison, bombs, attacks, and more. It took a physical and emotional toll on both of them. This programming affects the infamous as well as the famous, and obviously not all Bride of Satan candidates are celebrities. Of course, every female entertainer is not selected for this programming. A potential candidate must be victims of intense childhood trauma. They must also be highly susceptible to hypnotic suggestion, strong-willed, influential, open to the handler's advising, and most of all, ambitious. Those candidates who are considered most useful may become brides or presidential sex models, but those who are the best at housing the spirit in their vessel will be made into stars. Those in power use these brides, models, and entertainers as they please, but the goal is to have said initiate, to spread the spirit that inspires them, and to pass it on to the fanatics that so blindly follow and idolize them. If the Illuminati god is a devil, then this process of possession via spiritual technology is sold as a process necessary in order to make the initiate as an ancient god. Or in the cases presented for discussion in this video, the process is said to make a young star's power as that of an ancient goddess. The two number ones which fight for control of the vessel, 11, or L-even. This is that slave Masonic symbolic doublespeak. The name of the number itself in our English spell of spelling implies the alchemical idea of making one even, with El or Elohim, hence the twins, you and your shadow or familiar spirit, two ones standing next to each other, together forming a false deity. Herein is the direct but denied correlation of the offspring of sun god and moon goddess to the sign of Gemini. Astrologically, Horus would be Gemini, the dual-natured offspring of Aries the fire or sun god and Taurus the moon goddess. The fallen authors of these esoteric ideas meant for them to be confusing and to make the practitioner double-minded, therefore more easy to possess. L even is the numeral we call 11, a name which carries within it the Luciferian promise and lie that their tech religion will make you even with L, or rather L even, just by binding an ancient deceiving spirit to you, an ancient spirit that you are told will take you to the top. As we delve deeper into the satanic connections of the aforementioned subject to the world of music and its profound impact on our lives, it is crucial to acknowledge that the soul is not a material commodity that can be bought, sold, or traded. The soul is an intangible divine essence that is at the core of our being, and its true nature cannot be quantified or commodified. Despite this understanding, the concept of a Faustian bargain or selling one's soul for fame and fortune has long been associated with the highest levels of the music business. This notion can be traced back to the story of Faust, a German legend in which a scholar sells his soul to the devil in exchange for unlimited knowledge and worldly pleasures. One of the primary biblical references that supports this idea is found in the King James Version of the Bible, specifically in Mark chapter 8, verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? This powerful verse emphasizes the futility of pursuing worldly success at the expense of one's spiritual well-being. Throughout the history of popular music, numerous artists have alluded to the Faustian bargain in their lyrics, interviews, and public personas. For example, the iconic musician David Bowie, in an interview with Rolling Stone, once stated, "Rock and roll has always been the devil's music." Similarly, in a 2013 interview with BBC Radio 1, rapper Kanye West admitted, "I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal, but at least it came with a few toys and a happy meal." Moreover, some artists have explicitly referenced the concept of selling their souls in their lyrics. For instance, in the song Crossroad Blues by the aforementioned Robert Johnson, he sings, "Standing at the crossroad, tried to flag a ride. I believe I'm sinking down." This line has been interpreted by many as an allusion to his rumored deal with the devil at a crossroads. The prevalence of these themes and references in popular music suggests that the idea of a Faustian bargain is deeply ingrained in the culture and mythology of the music industry. It serves as a cautionary tale for those who might be tempted to sacrifice their spiritual well-being in the pursuit of fame and fortune. While the soul is not a material commodity that can be traded or sold, the concept of a Faustian bargain in the music industry serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of prioritizing worldly success over spiritual growth. As Christians and responsible members of society, we must continue to engage with music in a discerning and thoughtful manner, recognizing its power to inspire, heal, and uplift, as well as its potential to corrupt and degrade. By doing so, we can strive to create a more compassionate, just, and loving world, grounded in a deep understanding of the true nature and value of the human soul. The songwriter's secret, also known as SWS, is a concept discussed on the Unplug'em YouTube channel, which suggests that many popular songs contain hidden or subliminal messages that can influence listeners' thoughts, emotions, and actions. According to the theory, these messages are often intentionally embedded by the songwriters and music industry insiders as a means to control the masses or promote specific agendas. More shocking is the revelation that many of our favorite jams and love songs are actually musical dedications and pledges of allegiance to Lucifer, his demons, and unbound fallen angels. Proponents of the SWS argue that a careful examination of popular song lyrics, music videos, and even the use of certain melodies and chord progressions can reveal these hidden messages. They believe that by understanding the songwriter's secret, listeners can become more discerning consumers of music and protect themselves from potentially harmful or manipulative content. The Unplug 'Em channel covers a wide range of topics related to digital detox and mindful Christian living, but the discussion of the songwriter's secret serves as arguably the most popular example of how the channel and ministry encourages viewers to question the media they consume and to become more mindful of the potential impact that it can have on their lives. It is important to note that the songwriter's secret is a controversial topic, and not all viewers may agree with the ideas presented. As with any theory or idea, it is up to each individual to research, critically analyze, and form their own opinions on the subject. Music is often considered a heavenly gift from our Creator, a universal language that transcends barriers and speaks to the soul. Throughout history, humans have been drawn to music for its beauty, its ability to evoke emotions, and its power to connect us with one another. Music has a profound effect on us physically, emotionally, societally, behaviorally, psychologically, and mentally. Plato once said, "Music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything." This quote encapsulates the deep impact music can have on our lives. Physically, music has been shown to lower blood pressure, reduce pain, and improve sleep quality. Emotionally, it can uplift our spirits, soothe anxiety, and foster a sense of belonging. Societally, music has the power to bring people together, bridging cultural divides and promoting understanding. In behavioral terms, music can influence our actions, for example, by encouraging us to dance or sing along. Psychologically, music can help us process complex emotions, and mentally, it can stimulate creativity and cognitive function. Music has been used in both ancient and modern warfare as a tool for motivation, communication, and psychological manipulation. The use of fight songs in college football can be traced back to the early 20th century, with schools like the University of Notre Dame creating their fight song, the Notre Dame Victory March, in 1908. These fight songs serve to rally team spirit and energize players and fans alike. The concept of frequencies and vibrations and their effect on the human body, mind, and soul has gained increasing attention in recent years. In the 20th century, the standard frequency of music shifted from 432 Hz to 440 Hz. This change has been the subject of much debate, with some researchers suggesting that 432 Hz is more harmonious and in tune with the natural vibrations of the universe. Dr. Leonard G. Horowitz, in his book, The Book of 528, Prosperity Key of Love, discusses the idea that certain frequencies can have healing properties, stating, "The 528 Hz frequency is the harmonic vibration of love and is capable of performing miracles in biology, medicine, and human spirituality." Research into the effects of frequency, vibration, and music on the mind has revealed fascinating insights. In a study published in Nature Neuroscience, it was found that music can stimulate the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of pleasure and reward. Music's undeniable power can be harnessed for positive change when used responsibly, but it can also become a potential weapon for mass destruction if misused. For example, during the Vietnam War, the U.S. military used loud music as a form of psychological warfare against the Viet Cong, attempting to demoralize and disorient them. As we continue to explore the vast potential of music, it is essential to remember its divine origins and to use this powerful gift responsibly, honoring its ability to heal, uplift, and unite humanity. Gemini, the third sign of the zodiac, has long been associated with duality, communication, and the exchange of ideas. In the context of the zodiac in ancient mythology, Gemini can be linked to Horus, the Egyptian god of the sky and kingship, and the Antichrist, as described by Christian ideology. To understand this connection, let's first examine the characteristics of the first two zodiac signs, Aries and Taurus. Aries, the first sign, is often seen as representing the father, king, or god figure. This can be linked to Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife, who was considered the divine ruler of Egypt. Taurus, the second sign, represents the mother, queen, or goddess figure. In Egyptian mythology, this corresponds to Isis, the goddess of motherhood, magic, and fertility, who was also the wife of Osiris. The third sign, Gemini, represents the child, prince or princess, or Antichrist figure. In the Egyptian context, this can be linked to Horus, the son of Osiris and Isis. Horus was considered the divine heir to the throne, and was often depicted as a falcon, or a man with a falcon's head. The connection between Gemini and Horus lies in the fact that Horus represents the union of the divine masculine and feminine principles, as embodied by his parents, Osiris and Isis. In Christian ideology, the concept of the Antichrist is a figure that opposes and attempts to usurp the position of Christ, the true heir to the divine throne. The connection between Gemini and the Antichrist lies in the dual nature of the sign, symbolizing both the divine child, Horus, and the deceptive counterfeit figure, Antichrist. This duality reflects the ongoing battle between good and evil, truth and deception, and light and darkness. Some may argue that Gemini represents Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge and writing. However, a deeper understanding of Christian ideology and the nature of the zodiac suggests that the true secret is that Gemini represents the child or Antichrist figure, rather than Thoth. This idea is supported by the etymological connections between the words Gemini and genius, which share a root meaning related to twinning, duality, and the notion of the jinn, a shape-shifting or impersonating spirit. The word genius also has ties to the Roman god Janus, who represents beginnings, endings, and transitions, and is typically depicted with two faces. The connection to Janus further links Gemini to the months of January and June, with June being the month of Gemini. Moreover, the term junior also connects to the concept of duality, as it is often used to refer to a child who shares the same name as their father, making them a proverbial twin or double. In conclusion, a careful examination of the characteristics of the zodiac signs, ancient Egyptian mythology, and Christian ideology reveals that Gemini represents the child or Antichrist figure, symbolizing the ongoing struggle between good and evil in the world. This understanding challenges the popular belief that Gemini represents Thoth and encourages a more nuanced and discerning interpretation of the true nature of the sign. Considering its etymological connections to genius, Janus, and the concept of duality. Now that we have made the connection between Gemini and Horus, and shown how Gemini is related to the Antichrist figure in Christian ideology, I also explained the etymological connections between the words Gemini and genius, and their relation to the Roman god Janus, the month of June, and the term junior. This understanding challenges the popular belief that Gemini represents Thoth and encourages a more nuanced interpretation of the true nature of the sign, considering its etymological connections to genius, Janus, the Antichrist, and the concept of duality.
Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, people like that change their name, and some people pick names that are hard to pronounce. It just so happens I pick one that you can pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce it yet.
If you don't even know how to pronounce it?
Yeah. If ever I'm told, you'll be the first to know.
How to pronounce it.
Yeah.
So how did it come about? The symbol came to you, and the symbol is like a combination of female and male?
Yes.
And that is why you're now, we have no name for you.
Recent analysis has proved that there's probably two people inside of me, just like a Gemini, and we haven't determined what sex that other person is yet.
Did you say I'm not even sure what sex it is, or he or she or it is? Did you say that?
Yeah.
I thought I heard that. What I'm getting from you is that you are very much in touch with both sides of yourself, your masculine and feminine side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And always have been. And so people grow up thinking that you're weird or that you're gay because of it, and that never bothered you?
Hey, whatever floats the boat.
Whatever peanut butters the jelly.
Yeah, there you go.
No, literally, like another personality you're talking about.
Well, what they seemed to find was that it was someone I had created when I was 5 years old.
Really?
For whatever reason, I'm not sure yet, but I hope to find out.
They, like psychologists, therapists?
Well, actually, I found out because I took someone through therapy. So.
And you found out that there is another person living inside you.
You should turn it into a civil interview.
No. Does that person have a name that we could call?
That's what is so interesting to me, is that I think that's why I changed my name. I think that's who I am now.
Really?
I very much feel divorced from Prince.
You really do?
Yes.
Prince was intensely private and at that time a devout Seventh-day Adventist. Maite was pregnant, there was something wrong. She claims Prince declined medical intervention.
The faith that he had just made me believe that everything was going to be okay.
It wasn't. Their baby Amir died of a rare genetic disorder, Pfeiffer syndrome, at just 1 week old.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to me and to him, I think.
A week later, they appeared on Oprah. Prince insisted.
What is the status of your baby?
Well, our family exists. We're just beginning it.
Amir is already dead.
It's all good. Never mind what you hear.
I knew we had an album to promote, and the faith that kept me going was that we were going to try again.
Prince called the shots.
He made the decision that neither of you would be there when Amir passed.
I wouldn't have.
Pfeiffer syndrome. Pfeiffer syndrome.
Satan is his father, not Guy. He came up from hell and begat a son of mortal woman. Hail Satan!
Hail Satan!
Satan is his father.
First, they confuse you about what you are and who you are. Then they can confuse you about whose you are. Janus Records, named after the Roman god Janus, reflects the theme of duality, which is prominent in the songwriter's secret SWS model. Janus is often depicted with two faces, representing beginnings and endings, and symbolizes transitions, passages, and gateways. The association with Janus can be extended to themes of duality and the dual nature of many artists who participate in the SWS. Dissociative identity disorder, DID, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, MPD, is a condition wherein an individual exhibits two or more distinct personalities. This concept parallels the duality theme and can be connected to the idea of the artist as an empty vessel for various entities to express themselves through their music. The etymology of the word genius has its roots in the Latin word genius, which means attendant spirit present from one's birth, or innate ability or inclination. The concept of genius in the SWS model refers to the idea that artists are guided or inspired by external forces, which may be spiritual or supernatural in nature. Gemini and Hermes, the Greek and Roman gods of communication and commerce, respectively, also relate to the music industry and its underlying esoteric themes. They are the patrons of travelers, merchants, and messengers, and their dual nature reflects the balance between the material and the spiritual realms. Hermes, in particular, is associated with the Hermetic principles, a set of philosophical and esoteric teachings that share an affinity with the SWS model. The connection between Janus records and these esoteric themes and ideas can be interpreted as a reflection of the underlying duality found in the music industry. The artists and their music often convey a sense of hidden or veiled messages, embodying the dual nature of light and darkness, good and evil, and the physical and the spiritual. By connecting Janus records to these themes, we can further examine how the SWS model is woven into the fabric of the music industry and the artists who participate in it. The use of aliases or alter egos by singers and entertainers is another aspect that relates to the themes of duality and dissociative identity disorder, known as DID. Many artists create alternate personas which they embody on stage or through their music, possibly as a means of exploring different aspects of their personalities or expressing different ideas and emotions. This concept of adopting alternate personas can also be interpreted as a form of artistic expression, allowing artists to explore new creative avenues without being constrained by their established identities. However, in the context of the SWS and the concept of DID, the adoption of alter egos or aliases by these artists may also suggest a more sinister connection. Some theorists argue that these alternate personas might be indicative of the artist's susceptibility to being influenced or manipulated by external forces or entities. In this scenario, the artist becomes an empty vessel, allowing other personalities or even supernatural beings to take control and express themselves through the artist's music or performances. The popularity of using alter egos or aliases in the entertainment industry can be seen as a form of veiled evidence that supports the idea of DID and its connection to the SWS model. From David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust to Beyoncé's Sasha Fierce, these alternate personas often exhibit traits that contrast with the artist's public image, highlighting the dual nature of their personalities and creative output. By adopting alternate personas, these artists may be unknowingly perpetuating the idea of duality and the potential for manipulation by external forces. In the context of the SWS and the discussion of DID, this phenomenon can be seen as another layer of complexity, further supporting the notion that the music industry is deeply intertwined with esoteric and occult themes, as well as the sinister themes that are prevalent within the subjects of Satanism and mind control. Garth Brooks, one of the most successful country music artists, took the concept of duality and alter egos to a new level when he created the persona of Chris Gaines. In 1999, Brooks released an album titled Garth Brooks in the Life of Chris Gaines as a pre-soundtrack to a planned movie called The Lamb. Chris Gaines was depicted as a moody, brooding rock musician with a completely different look, style, and sound than Garth Brooks. The project was met with mixed reactions, but it demonstrated how an artist could fully immerse themselves in an alternate persona. Consider the idea of method acting and the stories that we have heard about Heath Ledger Johnny Depp and others getting completely lost in a character they portray. Here are more examples of artists and their alter egos. 1. Eminem, Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers. Eminem created the Slim Shady persona to express his darker, more violent thoughts and experiences. This allowed him to explore different lyrical content and themes, separating the artist from his real-life persona, Marshall Mathers. 2. Lady Gaga, Joe Calderone. Lady Gaga introduced the character of Joe Calderone, a male alter ego, at the 2011 MTV Video Music Awards. Joe Calderone allowed Gaga to challenge gender norms and stereotypes while expressing a different side of her artistic identity. 3. Nicki Minaj, Roman Zolanski, Barbie. Nicki Minaj has created multiple alter egos, including Roman Zolanski, a male character inspired by the horror film director Roman Polanski, and Barbie, a girly, fashion-focused persona. Press releases tell us that these characters have merely allowed her to explore various aspects of her creativity and push boundaries in her music. However, as researchers and truthers, we must note that the most interesting thing about the name of her altar is its direct relationship with the idea of the bride of Satan. Roman Polanski was the director of Rosemary's Baby, which is a film that is literally about the Bride of Satan program. When celebrities and famous women are selected for this process, sometimes referred to by New Agers as rebirthing, they will be impregnated directly by a devil or a demonically possessed high priest of Satanism/witchcraft. On the night of Whitney's death during the Grammy ceremony which preceded the Grammy party where music mogul Clive Davis announced Whitney's suspicious passing, Minaj, dressed as a satanic bride, had a mock exorcism performed on her during her exhibition. 4. Prince Camille. Prince created the alter ego. Camille, a persona with an androgynous appearance and a sped-up vocal style. Though an album titled Camille was planned, it was never officially released. However, several songs attributed to Camille appeared on other Prince albums. 5. Miley Cyrus. Hannah Montana. Miley Cyrus rose to fame playing the character Hannah Montana, a teenage pop star living a double life, in the Disney Channel series of the same name. The show and its accompanying music allowed Cyrus to explore a more wholesome image before transitioning to a more mature and controversial persona in her later career. These examples demonstrate the various ways artists use alter egos to explore different aspects of their creativity, push boundaries, and express different facets of their personalities. However, in the context of the SWS and DID theories, these alter egos may also hint at deeper connections to duality, manipulation, and the influence of external forces within the music industry. The word actor has a significant connection to the words hypocrites and hypocrites, as well as the name Hippocrates. The Greek word hypocrites, eupokrites, translates to an actor or a stage player. In Greek culture, actors wore masks and spoke from beneath them, the outer 11. Over time, the term hypocrites evolved to refer to individuals who pretended or wore figurative masks, pretending to be someone or something they were not, 11. Jesus used the word hypocrites to condemn the religious leaders of his time in Matthew 23:27, 28. He denounced them, saying, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful, but within are full of dead people's bones and all uncleanness. So you also outwardly appear righteous to others, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness." Matthew 23:27, 28 ESV, 5. By calling them hypocrites, Jesus was exposing their outward display of righteousness, while inwardly they were corrupt and full of deceit, 7. The connection between the word actor and Jesus' use of hypocrites lies in the idea of portraying oneself differently from one's true nature. Just as actors assume different roles and wear masks on stage, hypocrites put on a facade, presenting themselves as righteous and virtuous when, in reality, their intentions and actions are deceptive and insincere. Jesus' choice of the word hypocrites emphasized the contrast between their outward appearances and their internal corruption, paralleling the notion of actors who perform on stage while hiding their true selves behind masks. Additionally, the name Hippocrates is connected to the word hypocrite through the common Greek root word krino, meaning to separate or to judge. While the name Hippocrates primarily refers to the renowned Greek physician and the father of medicine, the term hypocrisy itself stems from the Greek word hypocrisis, which also has origins in the theatrical sense of acting and judging under a mask. The link between Hippocrates and hypocrisy lies in the shared linguistic root and the broader context of acting and pretense. In conclusion, the word actor is closely related to the words hypocrites, hypocrites, and the name Hippocrates. Hypocrites, meaning an actor or a stage player, eventually evolved to describe individuals who pretend or wear masks, thus giving rise to the term hypocrites. Jesus used hypocrites to condemn the religious leaders of his time, highlighting their outward display of righteousness while inwardly concealing corruption and deceit. The connection between actor and hypocrites lies in the shared concept of portraying oneself differently from one's true nature, akin to actors on stage. The linguistic root connects Hippocrates and hypocrisy, emphasizing the link between acting, judgment, and pretense. Baby, and suggest hidden messages or oaths dedicated to an entity, possibly Lucifer. The lyrics indicate a powerful bond with the entity, with the singer under a spell and unwilling to break free. The mention of being a slave and worshiping the entity suggests complete devotion. The pledge of love and worship points to a possible dedication to Lucifer. This analysis highlights hidden meanings and potential influences in popular music. Stay vigilant and discerning.
I think you know who it is. I'm under your spell. I don't want to break free. You can make a slave out of me. I worship, I worship. I worship you and nobody else. I pledge my love to you
I've got skulls everywhere, see?
You have? You've got even more skulls. They're all skulls.
They're all skulls.
I mean, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
No, it's not weird.
No?
Why? You say you like them, don't you?
Yeah, but you talk about love and everything, and then you're just covered in skulls.
I like the way they look. Well, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. I mean, it's just a weird thing to...
I don't know.
Some time ago, the wire services and newspapers carried a story out of San Francisco describing the first satanic wedding ceremony ever performed. The pictures showed a nude woman lying on the altar behind the guest, whom you see now, the Reverend Anton Szandor LaVey, who is the founder and high priest of the First Church of Satan. Anton Szandor LaVey uses as somewhat of a credo this timeless quote: "Remember, evil backwards spells live." Somehow that never occurred to me.
you mentioned a time or two the Illuminati. Could you, in just a few words, summarize what you understand the Illuminati is?
Okay. Many people call it the Great Conspiracy, which is kind of true, but actually the Illuminati is about 1,000 conspiracies all running at one time. Therefore, a lot of them backfired. But it was formed about 100 years before its original birth date. The birth date is May 1st, 1776, witches always start everything on May 1st. That's why even the communist birthday is on May 1st. That's their New Year's Day. But it means the holders of the light, or the light bearers. Now, witches have another name for it, too. Since it is a death penalty to use the name the Illuminati, you must say Mariah, which means the conquering, destroying wind. But its belief is that Lucifer is God, and that everything else is imposter, and that Lucifer can bring peace to the world by his lifters or upholders' conspiracy.
I've heard there's an angel of the night. Far through time she has traveled, and she's watching out of sight. She knows, let her guide you. Listen if you can, you know she's wise, and she'll find you. Try to understand. In your heart she'll be hiding, for she's with you constantly. And somewhere from the darkness she will slip into your dreams, and you will know by the stillness in the air. You'll feel she's here, and if you will it, baby, she'll appear. She's an angel. She's an angel of the night. She's an angel. She's a guardian of love. She's an angel. She's an angel of the night. She's an angel. She's a guardian of love. When she speaks, it's like music, universal melody.